Welcome to Centre Ice, the Hockey Alberta podcast, home to all things hockey in our great province.
Hi, my name is Jeff McClean, and I'm one of the co-authors of the new book, Who's Hockey?
We're here to talk about Who's Hockey, but can you just give us the Cliff Notes version of what the story is about?
Who's Hockey? It follows a little bit of my life growing up playing hockey, and then also my co-authors, Terry Roberts in Newfoundland and Nicola Pringle here in Edmonton with me, who did all the illustrations. Little bits and pieces of our lives growing up. And with respect to me, I was an Air Force brat, and I moved around a lot. And what happens is when you move, when you're young and your parents are in the military, is that you always move in the summer so you don't miss any school. The problem with that is that when you move somewhere new, all the kids are gone on vacation with their parents. So it's hard to meet new friends. But lucky for me, I always tried out for hockey, and you usually did that in the end of August or the beginning of September. So I got to meet some new friends and kids through hockey. So I always went into the new school with my new friends from hockey. So it wasn't as daunting or it wasn't as scary going into a new place, thanks to the friends that I met through hockey. I thought this was an opportunity when the NHL approached me to talk about their declaration of principles, and the first one being acceptance. I thought that was a perfect liftoff to start thinking about how this could make a great storybook or a series of storybooks based on their principles.
I understand that this is the first of what's supposed to be 8 books.
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed. That's what we're hoping. I mean, we're seeing some really nice success early on here with our first book, Who's Hockey? And we looked at all 8 declarations of principles, and it's kind of funny because, you know, working with the NHL on Pride Tape for 7 years, you know, my friend Paul reached out and contacted me and shared their declaration of principles and said, "What do you think of these?" And I said, "Well, it's cool, but what is it?" And he said, "Well, you tell me." And so after thinking about it for a bit, I thought, well, it would make a great children's book to basically teach the importance of character in these 8 words, hockey parents and the kids that are playing, because it represents, you know, the character that you can bring to the game or the characteristics that the game can bring to you. Looking at all 8 and never having done a children's book before, purchasing about 80 to 90 kids' books that I liked and kind of breaking them down mathematically, looking at, you know, the story arcs and the word counts per page, I called Paul back and I said, "I don't think we're going to get all this in one book. I think it has to be 8 books. And he said, "Sure. Can you do that?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I thought, you know, let's pick off the first one in alphabetical order, which is acceptance, which really tied in nicely with a lot of the learnings that we've had over the last 7 years with Pride Tape, having a lot of conversation with hockey parents and their kids all over the world, and really speaking to the importance of character and the importance of kindness and friendship and acceptance. So it was a pretty easy, natural lead into taking a stab at writing this first book.
I think the idea of acceptance and inclusivity in hockey is a main focus across the game right now. You've just alluded to, you've worked with the NHL on Pride Tape, and working in this space and being involved for as long as you have you noticed the game actually change?
For me, working with the league and grassroots programs now all over the world, I think the one big change that I've seen from when I was playing growing up, which was a long time ago, but, you know, all of the channels and the opportunities to learn and get to know your heroes, character seems to be far more important than it used to be. Like when I was a kid growing up, my heroes in hockey, you know, it was all about how well they played, how many points they had, or how many saves they had, or did they win the Stanley Cup? And now, you know, especially with social media, young people want to know not only, you know, those things, the points and all of those, you know, on ice skills and talents, but they also want to know what sneakers they wear, what they had for breakfast, and also what social causes do they represent, or do they sponsor, or do they believe in. That stuff matters. So certainly the character of the players and those role models is, I believe, more important than it's ever been. Again, those young people are looking to see their heroes and what they believe in, and are they allies? Do they stick up for everyone? Do they truly believe hockey is for everyone? It's important, and I think what we see in the game, not only at the pro level, but all the way down to the grassroots levels, and certainly, you know, this evening in junior, there's some Pride games happening in Oshawa and Kitchener and in Ontario, and other games happening around the world, and tournaments that we're involved with in Australia. I do see a big difference. We also see a lot of hatred too, still out there. We've got a long way to go. So we sometimes say 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, but we still believe we're going in the right direction. And we certainly feel that the young people that are playing the game now at the grassroots, at the minor hockey league level, they're really conscientious. And it's a little bit different from what I see from when I played. I think our future is pretty bright, and I'm hopeful.
I actually just ran maltreatment contest and met with a team on Tuesday. They had went into a visiting community. One of their teammates was an Indigenous player. A fan was yelling racial slurs at him. And so a team approached afterwards that we wanted to show you support. They got involved in the contest. And I was really impressed. We had done an interview with a couple of the players, and the captain stepped right up and said, "This doesn't belong in our game. We want to show that we support our players. We're all teammates on and off the ice, so this doesn't belong there." And just for a 17-year-old to recognize that, I think, especially coming from a rural community, shows that we're starting to take strides in the right direction. But one of those key pieces is the education part. With going back to Who's Hockey, what are you hoping the kids take away from these books?
I think just touching on what you mentioned, certainly a lot of the purpose of the books and other initiatives that are championed by great hockey programs here in Alberta and everywhere else out there. We have friends now at Heroes Hockey down in Calgary, with Kevin's group, and in Edmonton with Tim's group, Free Play for Kids. We've done some things there, and we're aligned with the Hockeyist Diversity Group in Berlin with Dr. Martin Hayan and his team. And, there's a lot of great things happening on the ice with programs all over the world, because for us, when we started engaging with the NHL, it was really about accessibility and having programs out there that give kids more opportunities to play. I mean, even the second wave of NHL Street launched yesterday here in North America and beyond. Again, it's all about giving kids a chance to play. And it doesn't always necessarily mean ice hockey. It can be street hockey and other forms of hockey. That's why our book, our first book, happens on the street, in the playground, rather than ice, because it's also why it's a soft cover book, and it's less expensive than a hardcover book to start, again, to try and give more kids the opportunity to get interested in the game and the sport and get excited about it. In the first lesson, it's really about opening to the widest demographic that we can have of kids, saying everybody's welcome. Hockey is for everyone. That is our mission. We may not be there yet, but we're moving in that direction. And it's about looking out for those shy kids that maybe just, don't have it in them to come forward and say, I'd love to play. They're sitting off in the corner or out in the background. And in the book, it's the dog, Gordy. It's actually my dog, Luna, but we called her Gordy for the book because in the 100th anniversary of the NHL, Mario Lemieux, Bobby Orr, and Wayne Gretzky all said Gordie Howe was the best player in history of hockey, because they're humble people. So the dog's name had to be Gordy, but it's Gordy who actually saw that Bodie, maybe wants to play, but the other kids didn't see it. So those pets with unconditional love, the dog goes over and drops the ball at Bodie's feet. And that's when everybody recognizes that maybe he'd like to play too. It's really about just reaching out. I spoke to an elementary school the other day for Pink Shirt Day, which was a lot of fun. And it was really talking about, just be welcoming and accepting, and look out for those kids that maybe are shy, and invite them in and accept them and welcome them. And you know what? Next thing you know, we might just find the next Connor McDavid.
You never know who has those hidden talents. I guess that also transitioned into my last question here, Jeff. But right now, Hockey Alberta is at the Teachers Convention, giving away your book to elementary teachers, trying to get it into the schools. And that's just our first step with it. So what does it mean to you to partner with Hockey Alberta with this book?
It's everything. Partnering with Hockey Alberta, if it doesn't exist, the books don't get out to the kids and they don't get a chance to read it. And so far, everybody that has had a chance to read it, we've got really positive feedback from the kids and the parents. But one of the things we learned, this being our first book, is, it's one thing to actually go to the lengths to make the book. It's quite another to get that distribution and get it out there. And like the book talks about, you need friends, and we're fortunate. We've probably made more friends in the last 3 years than we have in the 7 with Pride Tape, but it's friends like Hockey Alberta that's really going to make this happen. And it's not easy, but again, grateful for this partnership. Again, getting it in the hands of the teachers who can get it to the kids. Fingers crossed that they'll like it as much as we do. But those lessons are important. Again, echo those strong words of acceptance, courage, humility, integrity, passion, perseverance, respect, and teamwork. Those are all 8 declarations. I know them off by heart now because of the last 3 years, but it was a process, and COVID, kind of took a little bit out of our sales and meaning boat sales, not sales of books, as we actually had it on the shelf waiting to be printed while COVID was happening, because we thought it's not the right thing to do to get a book out there when kids can't go out and play with their friends. So it was sitting and waiting. And then when things came back, we got it printed and are now getting it out there thanks to Hockey Alberta and other partners, because the time is right as we see what's happening with hockey culture. I think there's never been a bigger spotlight on it and a greater opportunity to change the culture. Again, we've seen a lot of champions out there that are doing that on the ice, in the classrooms, in the libraries, and we're just happy to play a small part in it.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. I think you're right. I think the time is now, and there's a space for it. Not only does the book have a good message, it's a hockey book, and there are not a ton of children's books out there that are hockey books.
Yeah, thank you. I have to tell you, that was one of the first things I did. COVID obviously was an incredibly difficult and horrible time, but what it allowed me to do is go and, like I said, buy, 75 to 100 different books and look at it. And I was actually quite surprised how few hockey books, children's hockey books there were out there. There's some great ones out there, the hockey sweater, the famous one, and there's a few others, but I thought it was a great opportunity to take this time to talk about the NHL's declaration of principles and those character traits. Like I mentioned earlier, I think that character is even far more important than talent. It's what character makes a great teammate. And we're discovering that with a lot of the feedback that we're getting. So again, hopeful that the timing is right. The book is successful enough that it gives us the opportunity to move on to our second book, which is about courage.
I look forward to reading that second book then too, because like I said, great messages and it fills a void in the market. The character piece is huge. We're in Alberta here, right? So you look at what Evander Kane is doing. He's been on the injury reserve list most of the season and has really stepped up in the community and helped out a lot of kids.
Thank you. I just want to add, representing Alberta, that's one thing I just wanted to make really clear, that when we found out that Hockey Alberta wanted to partner with us and be the first group to really get a large sum of books in the hands of kids, we were absolutely thrilled, because we're proud that this is a made in Alberta product. It was created here, and so was Pride Tape, and that means the world to us. The fact that there's going to be a lot of kids here that get the opportunity to read the book right here at home is really, really wonderful. And we'll be on the concourse with the Oilers on March 25th against the Vegas Golden Knights with the book. And we'll have our 8-foot by 8-foot book cover wall where kids can stand in front of it and get their picture taken so they can put themselves on the cover of the book. That's actually why there's no people on the cover of the book, because at one point we want to be able to have people put themselves on the cover of the book and be a part of it.
Oh, fun. Well, the end of March will be a busy game for you guys too, because end of the season against the Knights, it'll be a good game.
Yeah, and with respect to Pride Nights and Hockey is for Everyone nights, March I think is the lion's share of the games for the NHL. I think there's probably over 2/3 of the games happening in March. So yeah, lots of places to be, but we're just really excited and thrilled. And again, we can't say enough about our partners at the NHL. When we called them originally, they were all in, and they've been incredibly helpful with us, for us, and they've been great friends, great partners. And now we're getting to enjoy that with Hockey Alberta as well. So it's just fantastic.
Well, we hope that we can get your book into as many kids' hands as possible. And so going down the route of Pride Tape, I'm probably going to have to connect with you again to do a story on that and where that originated, because it is built in Alberta.
Well, thanks. I know I could talk forever on this stuff, as you can tell. So any other time you want to, I'm here for you. So thank you again so much for everything you're doing with Hockey Alberta and your willingness to be a part of this. We're really proud of that.
Thank you for listening to the Centre Ice podcast. For this episode and more, head to hockeyalberta.ca. If there's a topic you'd like covered on an upcoming episode, email info@hockeyalberta.ca.